Welcome aboard the Ear to There podcast, the podcast that'll help you vacation like a pro in any Disney destination. For those of you standing, please sit down and hold on throughout our journey and get ready to learn how to have the time of your life. And now, here's your host, Phil Gramlich.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Ear to There podcast. I'm your host, Phil Gramlich. I'm also the owner and operator of Ear to There Travel, which is a Disney-specialized travel agency. It's my job to take away that stress, that anxiety, and all that time that it takes to book a Disney trip so you can focus on the fun things like having a great time with your family and friends and enjoying the magic. You can find this podcast, my blog, or request a free, yes, free, no obligation quote over at eartotheretravel.com. This is episode 44 for the week of November 28th, 2016. And as I always say, grab a drink, grab a snack, and as a famous mouse once said, on with the show. Last week on the Ear to There podcast. You see, this is why you have to listen each and every week. Did you see what you missed last week? Actually, none of those screaming men were on last week's episode. Actually, last week, my friend Johnny Shortsleeve and I were talking all about the top places to get away from it all in Walt Disney World. And we promised we would keep it to one episode, but upon further editing, it had to be broken up into two. So here is the very exciting conclusion of the top places to get away from it all in Walt Disney World. We join this episode already in progress. I think you're up for your next one.
Yeah. Here's a good one. On Main Street, USA, and still in the Magic Kingdom. On Main Street, USA, the thing with that is you have a couple different things going on in terms of what you'll see from the guests. Either they are just blasting through Main Street USA to get to the rides or the shows or wherever their Fast Pass is or wherever their dining reservation is. There's a lot to see on Main Street and kind of soak in. It really does help set the story, I think, very well of what the Magic Kingdom is supposed to be. More so than just the shops and that kind of stuff. But there are a couple little spots I think are kind of interesting on Main Street. The first one is there's a little alcove as you're walking up Main Street towards Cinderella Castle. Halfway up on the right side, as you're walking up towards Cinderella's castle, there's this little alcove that kind of shoots off like an alley. It's between the Crystal Arts Glass Shop and the Uptown Jewelers, and there's a couple little tables back there, and it's quiet, and you can grab a cup of coffee from the bakery, or import a Dunkin' Donuts coffee from the car care center, and just sit there and relax with your coffee and a sleeve of donuts. And they used to, I haven't been back there in a little while. They used to have some like atmosphere music that was back there of like people talking and stuff. There. It is still still do it back there.
I took my kids down there on our last trip to show them. Yeah.
Yes, and that's one cool spot. It's great because you will have the hustle and bustle of Main Street, but you're far enough down in that alley where you can sit down at those little tables and relax, or grab like a hot dog from Casey's Corner and bring it over there and relax. And it's quiet back there, and it's calm and relaxing and peaceful. And it's a neat little spot back there too. Just the atmosphere. Because when I say hang out in an alley, I think that sounds sketchy. But no, it's not. It's a cool little spot. The way they've done it, the atmosphere there is really nice, and it's themed to Main Street. You're still on Main Street. There's a second neat little spot that's smaller, but I'll tell you how I discovered this. It's if you're walking through Town Square and you're coming up on the confectionery, if you're looking at the confectionery, it's smack dab between the confectionery and La Chapeau or whatever, the hat store. I know one day I will do the research I need to do before we start talking about this stuff. The hat shop, it's something chapeau or whatever. There's the tables that are out there, which are fun. They have like a little checkerboard. Those are neat to sit at. But there's also this little like stairway. It's like almost like you'd see like a row house. It's a little stairway to, I don't know what is behind that door. I'm guessing it's like offices, but it's a neat little cove that you can go in there. It's quiet. It is what it sounds like. It's a little stairway, but you can sit there on the stairs and relax. And if you got something from the confectionery, just sit there and enjoy. I've done that a handful of times with my kids. If we go get a little treat, just to sit on those steps and relax, you get to see Town Square. And if you're there at like 5:00 when they do the flag retreat, that's a really cool thing to see from there. I've done it because one time, really where I learned about it or saw it, could pass by it a million times and never thought about it, was we were watching fireworks one night with my family and some friends right there from Town Square, where so you get a good view of Cinderella's castle. And one of my sons was not happy. He just, the fireworks were scaring him. He doesn't like fireworks. So I took him, and I tried to find like a quiet spot for him where he could, not have the loud booms freak him out. And we saw that little cove, and I just ducked in there in that stairway, and it deadened the sound a lot. So he was okay, and it helped him to kind of feel a little more safe back through there without the loud explosions. So the whole point of that is you can really blow past a lot of really good spots to hang out if you're just, your mindset is, let me go to the next ride. Let me go to the next show. What's my schedule? No, just stop and look around and see what's going on, because these places like that are there. They're all over the place. So as long as you're keeping your eyes open, you can find them pretty easily.
Yeah. So your first one, the alley there is the east. It's, I think, East Center Street. I think it was, because it used to go all the way across, and it was West Center Street there too, before they expanded the Emporium and then closed that off.
Right.
But yeah, I really like that too. My kids, the first time we went down there was, I think, our last trip, because they, now that they're a little bit older, they're still very young, but they're a little bit older. So I try to point out like you said, the music, and that you could hear there's a dance class that's going on the second floor, and I think it's a music class, and you can hear the teacher instructing the kids how to do it, and it's really cool. It's a nice little thing, and you're right. It is quiet. There's nobody really go down there because they are running straight to the first land that they're going to, the first Fast Pass. So it's a nice thing. Another spot like right on Main Street too that I was thinking is the train station.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because I think a lot of people, or the majority of guests, get in there, walk onto the tracks, and run straight up Main Street. They don't really go up those steps until later in the day, and they want to check it out. So there's so many times that I go through the train station there, and it's dead. There's nobody in there, unless, of course, there's a parade or something going on. And then then all those benches are full, and people are taking pictures. Yeah,
because then that little outside terrace, but on the inside where
there's never anybody in there.
Yeah, and it's air conditioned.
Yep.
And so, my son loves to hang out in there and just play those little games. He pretends like he's playing those little games that are in there, those old timey. But I always see a lot of people in there, especially on the really hot days, just kind of parking it on those benches and enjoying the air conditioning. So yeah, that's a good spot as well, definitely.
Yeah, they're like kinetoscopes or something that I forget what they're called. They used to be over, down at the Penny Arcade when it was there, but obviously it's not there anymore.
Right.
But yeah, great picks, and it's kind of cool to think that you can get away from it all on Main Street, but you really can. There's little places that you can go to.
Yeah.
Really cool. So I have two more, and we're getting close to the 1 hour, as we
close to the 3 hour mark.
Yeah, all right. So I'm gonna have to settle for some because I thought you would take a lot of mine, but that didn't turn out because you went to the Magic Kingdom. So here's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go to this is a strange one because it's not in a park. It's not in a resort. It's not in any of like the real Disney locations. It's between two parks, okay? So humor me for a second. my kids, my wife and I love going to Hollywood Studios in the morning, and we wear our kids out, right? We get 3 fast passes for Hollywood Studios. We do, Toy Story Midway Mania. We do the 4-year-olds still love the Disney Junior show. And then we'll do, with my older daughter, we'll do Tower of Terror, and then Star Tours, and then we'll do lunch. And by then they're wiped out. We'll do a couple shows. We'll do Beauty and the Beast. We'll do Little Mermaid. They're wiped. So we decided, hey, they're tired. We're going to walk over to Epcot. So that walk in between Hollywood Studios and Epcot is one of my favorite quiet places, to get away from it all anywhere in Walt Disney World, because, for a couple of reasons. One, there's never anyone doing it. Unless you get a lot of runners that like to do that but if you're doing it during the middle of the day, especially in the hotter months, there's a lot of runners there. And a lot of people don't know that you can walk between the two parks. It's very, very cool. So yeah, you walk out of Hollywood Studios, you walk past the bus stops and the Friendship boat stop, and you just keep going along the pathway there, and it takes you straight to the Epcot resorts that you can walk through, and then you walk right into the International Gateway. I love it because my kids usually fall asleep in the strollers if they're, we're pushing the strollers, and it's a nice time for my wife and I to kind of, to catch up, just to talk about, the trip or plans or take a break. I love that walk. And I know if you go into, the middle of the summer when it's so super hot, it's not exactly the best thing to do, but I really like it. I think it's a nice way to kind of get away from the crowds, and you're still doing something. You're like in between the two parks, and I don't know. That's, for me, I'm kind of strange. I like that one.
I was just doing that with my family a few weeks ago, where we parked at Hollywood Studios in the parking lot, and then walked from the parking lot there over, and then did like the loop around like where Boardwalk is and Yacht Club, Beach Club, that whole area. Just walked the loop and then walked back to the Hollywood Studios for just like an evening walk. In the evening it's cool. There's like the little tiny breeze that comes through there with the waterway. But it was interesting that when we did it a few weeks ago, I was walking down the path, and like you said, there's literally no one out there for the most part. I see this thing walking across the path there, and I'm looking at it, what the heck is that? And I'm trying to think what would be a good comparable to the site. It was like one of those Reese's peanut butter eggs you see at in Easter.
Okay.
Like something that size going across the sidewalk there. I was like, what the heck
that's
is that?
That's an interesting thing you picked. Just
Yeah, I mean, what do you expect, man? I'm a rotund gentleman. That's how I think. I equate everything to food. And I get up close to it. It's a baby turtle.
Wow.
And it was
cool.
walking from the waterway, like came up the little hill there, and was like crossing across the sidewalk there. And, I stopped to take a little picture of it with my phone. And then, of course, everyone's, they see this ample gentleman's leaning over. It's like, oh, it must be food down there if he's bending over. And they're like, oh, wow, baby turtle. So it became like this little scene. And it just kind of waddled very slowly across the sidewalk there. So, yeah. And so from a nature perspective, it was like a free trip to Animal Kingdom. Super nice walk, though. And I tell you what, I noticed, I pay attention this time, is how impressive this structure is of Swan and Dolphin when you see it from that vantage point down there.
True.
I always see it from the road, and it looks big. I don't really have a kind of a scale perspective from the road when you see it from a distance. But when you're right up there on it, like, holy smokes, these hotels are huge.
Yeah, they really are, and they're designed so the monorail could go right through them.
Yeah, I remember your urban legend. Your episode.
Yeah. No, they're really not, but yeah, they are. They're really cool to walk by because you don't see them a lot. You're right. You don't get up close and kind of personal with them. I honestly, and I say I've stayed at every Walt Disney World resort, and that's true. I don't count those two because they're technically not Walt Disney World resorts. I've never stayed in either. I've been to them. I've been in both, but I've never stayed at one. But, one thing about that walk is if it is hot and you are making that walk, go to the boardwalk side and not when you're walking to Epcot and not the beach club side. And you can stop at Margarita Joe's and get a nice frozen margarita on your way into Epcot. You have to finish it before you get to the park, but if it's that high, you'll finish it, no problem.
Or you go across the way and get a slice of pizza.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yeah, the pizza place too.
Nothing like on a hot day cuddling up to a slice of pizza.
Dude, there's never a bad time for pizza. Pizza's never bad.
Yeah, never a bad time for a good slice.
Sure.
I like it, man. That's a good choice. So I think, is this my last one?
It is.
Wait, look, I have a huge. All right, now, okay, yeah, this is my last one. So rounding off my list of the Magic Kingdom, which not saying this is the only, or this is the absolute last one, but this is one of my favorites, is Columbia Harbor House. And yeah, it's a restaurant. Yes, it's a quick service place, good food, salmon. The salmon there, don't sleep on the salmon. That's for the price. I hate to say, here's some cheap salmon. You kind of want to, you don't want to eat cheap fish. It's good quality. It tastes really good. But there is not a lot of people think to go upstairs on Columbia Harbor House. I know you and I hung out one time and we ate up there. There are a couple of spots up there on the second floor of Columbia Harbor House that have these really amazing views down into Liberty Square and like toward the Haunted Mansion. So, if you want to go up there, maybe go in and just grab a drink, and I don't know that they would say anything. You just went up there. I'm not advocating that everyone just use that as a lounge, but grab a drink or grab a seasonal cobbler and go hang out up there on the top floor. And because obviously great air conditioning, but it's usually quiet up there, especially kind of like if you're ahead of the lunch rush or after the lunch rush. Mid-afternoon kind of thing. Maybe that'd be a good place to go get a little snack. If your kid's blood sugar levels are getting a little low. Cool spot to hang out. It's nice and quiet, great views, and not a lot of people usually on those off times. So you can still have that quiet retreat and allow the kids to kind of recharge for a little bit. This is definitely not a spot. Please don't go up there and kick your feet up on the table and take a nap. For the Chucks of the world. Poor Chuck, he's not here to defend himself. But yeah,
I don't think he would, even if he would. He would just own it. He doesn't care about that. Trust me. If you're listening right now and you've heard Chuck on the podcast, he doesn't make any apologies. He's fine.
And now I wonder if this is going to be the impetus for another episode for you and him, like best spots to take a nap.
Yeah. He'll have 20 and I'll have 0. That'll be a great episode.
Just let him talk. Back to you. Do you please go ahead, Chuck? You take another one. Take my turn. So Columbia Harbor House, great. Like hanging out there, and that's a cool spot.
I like any of the places that have the second floor dining area. Electric Umbrella has that, I think, right? Yeah, and it's barely ever open. Columbia Harbor House usually is. But you're right. The one thing that when it's super busy, there will be a cast member down there at the bottom stopping you unless you have a tray of food to go upstairs. And I have to be completely honest with you, that's my biggest pet peeve about the Disney restaurants, the Disney counter service restaurants, is I understand that if you have, that you should wait until you have your food to get a table. I get that. But for people who have little kids who aren't going to eat the food in the restaurant, but, like my kids are picky. They won't eat the food in usually we bring their lunches with us. We pack them in, a little tiny zip up cooler and we'll break them out when it's lunchtime. But my wife and I will eat from wherever we are. We'll eat at Columbia Harbor House or Electric Umbrella or Pinocchio Village House. But they won't, if it's super, super busy, they don't let you sit down until you have food in your hands from the restaurant. And I think it's a fairly new thing in the last few years. It drives me crazy because my kids could be sitting down eating at a table, their food that they brought, while I get to, and I get it that they want you to buy food from there, but I don't know. That's something about that policy kind of gets to me. I get I get it if it's going to be people sitting there not eating, holding a table. I understand that completely because that should go to someone who has food. But if you're going in there and you have food for your kids who aren't going to eat something from the restaurant, they should be able to sit and eat because you are a paying customer. So sorry to get off. I'll get off my soapbox.
No, and I'll say this to anyone who's hearing that and going, "Oh, that doesn't sound like a very friendly atmosphere for me and my family." No, the move that I will pull is if there's ever a question, is to say, "Look, my kids, you don't want them standing in the line with everybody because they are going to get restless. They're going to get antsy. They need to just have some time to sit down and relax. I'm standing in here. I'm going to get food for them. I'm most likely going to get a cobbler for myself in addition to my food. It's and saying it respectfully. But you're right. I mean, I think in those crazy busy times, they might be a little harder to manage. But at the same time, I think as long as you're reasonable and say, look, you don't want to see my kids standing in that line right there with all the food right in front of them, getting teased as they see people walk by with plates of food. It just, don't worry. So, and here's the thing. Disney cast members are super gracious. If you're nice to them and polite to them, they'll be very kind to you too. And they're not going to slide tackle you as you're going up the stairs and grab your ankle and pull out from under you. And as you're trying to traverse your way up the staircase.
Times have changed since I was a cast member. That's what I used to do.
Yeah. Jean-Claude Van Damme taught your traditions class.
Yeah, right.
Him and Steven Seagal, they paired up. So you might want to, and every now and then, it's inevitable. Someone has a bad day, but for the most part, if you're nice and you're kind to them and just kind of explain the situation, they're very accommodating.
Yeah, I feel like I don't want to be the guy that obviously that has an issue or trashes Disney, so I don't want to come off that way. But I do. I think you're right. I think once in a while you'll have that cast member that's having kind of a bad day, and you can't talk them out of it. And it kind of drives me crazy. Okay, that may or may not make the podcast. We'll see when I edit it. All right. So for my last one, and this is tough because I think I used up my favorite one so far, but I'm going to go with So this one I'm going to go with. We've talked about Did we talk about the boardwalk already? We did, right?
Well, we talked about catching a quick slice of pizza and a margarita on your way to Epcot.
Right, that's right. So one of my favorite quiet spots, really in all of Walt Disney World, is at the boardwalk, and it's the Bellevue Lounge.
Ooh, good one.
I feel like that one, it's almost like no one knows it's there. And they have, it's set, it's 1920s, 1930s, New York and New Jersey boardwalks is obviously what it's themed to. So you walk in, there's these big, wooden tables and chairs, and there's a bartender there, actually. It's just, I'm reminding myself of a Dennis Leary skit or comedy bit where he says, there's a bartender behind the bar, because it talks about how you couldn't get a Budweiser in a craft beer place. It was pretty funny. Anyway. Because he says, give me a Budweiser, and the guy says, I can't do that. This is a micro brewery. And he says, go back. He says, get in the bag and micro brew me up a patch of Budweiser. But I've been into the Bellevue Lounge several times by myself, with my wife, with my kids even, and I feel like there's never anyone there. I don't think people realize who are staying at the boardwalk that it's there. It's a beautiful lounge to sound completely unlike myself and say that we're beautiful, but it is. It's just a really cool little place, and you can sit down, you can have a drink. There's no big TV showing you the NFL games or anything like that. There's no TV at all in there. It's very much themed to the boardwalk, era of the 20s and 30s. So it's just quiet. It's usually pretty deserted, and it's a nice place to sit, have an adult beverage in between going to Magic Kingdom and having your dinner or your food and wine, evening at Epcot. I just really love that place. It's something that I think is kind of really off the radar and not a lot of people go to. And I think if you're going to go and if you're an adult and you want to kind of have some quiet time with, or even like a date, you want to take like a first date there, I think it's a cool place.
So what I like too about it is they have these little radio sets that are all over on the wall units that it's like there's like bookshelves all around for most of the walls, and they have these little like old antique books and antique games, like board games and stuff like that, decorating the walls. And they have these old fashioned radio units in there, and you can kind of faintly hear them. They're all playing like old radio shows from that era. And it really, to me, it does a really nice job of putting you in that era of what they're trying to set the story for you. But it's what's neat is I think all the hotels they have, or like the moderates and the deluxe hotels, have these neat little lounge areas where you can kind of retreat to and grab a drink and relax. Wait, you'll have to edit this out in post. Edit this out. Here's a cool idea, man. You should do like a little thing where you say, hey, for anybody who's a listener, blog reader, things like that, just write in your favorite lounge in the Walt Disney World hotels and tell them, just send me an email. Tell me your favorite story or your favorite drink you get at the lounge, and give them like I don't know, give them like $100 off the service package that you charge for all your planning, the fast passes and the dining and things like that. I mean, I don't know, maybe 100's too much, maybe like $50 off or something like that. I don't know how much you're charging these days for all that stuff, but might be a fun little contest.
Well, as you may not know, since this is the first podcast we've done, just the two of us, I don't charge for any of my services, so I can't really give a discount. No.
For the because you're doing like the fast pass planning, right, and the dining reservations,
that's
and
true.
You do their hotel.
Yeah, that's true.
There's like the Magical Express stuff and the itineraries, the drink coupons.
Drink coupons.
Wait. I mean, so that's the thing I was talking about. When you charge that for that package for all your time, to do all that, and the booking and you give them the quotes. That's the thing I was talking about. Give them the discount on that. Yeah,
amazingly, it's still free. I don't charge anything for those.
What?
I know. I should start.
Wait a minute. I thought. I don't know where. Wait a minute. Where did I get it from? I was thinking you charged like $1,000 for that. That's free?
That would be fantastic if I charged $1,000. Wait a minute. Now I'm getting a business idea.
Jeez.
No, yeah, that's completely free. That is though.
Why are people? If that's free, why are people not flocking to you? We should clear the line. We should get off the internet. You're going to have to take care of this. It's free.
It is free. Yeah. What's funny is I've struggled with trying to explain that the amount of it's not woe is me. Trust me, I do make money doing it, but it's a lot of work, man. It is a lot of work, especially if you haven't done it before. To plan a Disney trip, it takes a lot of time. So
yeah, man, I can't believe it. I just knocked over my highball glass of Harvey Wallbanger.
I don't even know what that is. What is a Harvey Wallbanger?
It's probably something you get at the Bellevue Lounge. It's basically man. It's basically a screwdriver with Galliano on top, vodka, orange juice, and then Galliano, which is that long, really, it's like the bottle's like the shape of the Eiffel Tower, and it's about as tall. It's always in the back shelf of the bartender's wall, and no one ever knows what the heck they use this stuff for. It's just I think the Harvey Wallbanger is the only drink that you use Galliano for. I don't know. Maybe that's your contest. Write in what other drinks you can use Galliano for, and you get the $100 off the $1,000. Oh wait, that's free.
It is free. I'm learning all kinds of stuff on this episode tonight. Wait, really quickly. Now that I kind of have you a little bit on the spot, your favorite lounge in all of Walt Disney World is what?
I know everyone wants to talk about Trader Sam's. I love Trader Sam's. It's definitely a cool, crazy, a lot of stuff going on. That's a really, really fun one. But honestly, I think I love Bellevue Lounge too. But I think my favorite one is the Territory Lounge in Wilderness Lodge.
Yeah, I do.
And the reason why is, I mean, there's some cool drinks in there. You know, if you're into, the cocktails and things like that, there's plenty of those there. They also have some cool beers and wines that are kind of like Pacific Northwest sourced. Plus the menu there, they have some really cool like small bite menu options that were great. So if you want to go, if you have like an early dinner and you find yourself, you might just want to have like just kind of a light something just to get in your stomach and a nice drink. That's such a cool spot. The theming's cool. It's quiet back in there. They do have the TVs on if you want to watch a game or whatever, but it's not so intrusive. It's not like you're going into like a Buffalo Wild Wings and just get over inundated with TVs.
Well, you can't get Buffalo. I think you can get. I don't know if you can get it there, but you can get it at Artist Point.
Yeah, that's right.
So
probably get them to send over a bison tenderloin and a cobbler. A good cobbler at Artist Point.
You're all about the cobbler in this episode, man.
I'm all about that cobbler.
All right, man. Well, listen, it's been a fun lesson. I've learned an awful lot about cobbler and about napping spots in Walt Disney World, and it's been a really good one. So thank you for all that, and thanks again for coming on the record. These are always a blast, and again, we're breaking records every time we do an episode. We're going over an hour, but again, this isn't one that I'm going to cut up because it's fun, and I think it all belongs in one shot. So this is all going to be one episode again. So thanks again, man, for doing it. And it's Phil here through the magic of editing. It did end up becoming 2 episodes, believe it or not. So make sure you go back and listen to part 1 of this episode as well.
Hey, my pleasure, man. Thank you. You're doing a great job, man. I love listening to your podcasts. Not just the ones I'm on. I mean, the ones that you do with other people. Those are the ones I listen to.
Come on, they're the best ones. Everybody else, they're just, whatever.
No way, man. I do. You're doing an awesome job, man. Keep up the good work.
Thanks, man. And if more people want to find out, what Johnny Shortsleeve is up to, what you're doing, where you are,
throw your nose up in the air, look for cobbler. Chances are I'll be there. Hanging out at the parks a lot. Check me out on Facebook. That's a cool spot to hang out. If you're searching through there, look for Johnny Shortsleeve. Or, if you're on Phil's page too, sometimes he'll mention me on there. That he kind of links over to me. So come and say hi.
I try to, and you are in the parks a lot, and you do a lot of cool stuff. So, and one thing that people don't really realize is, they hear you on here on the podcast, and I'm not trying to, suck up to you or kiss up to you here, but your positive attitude, seriously, is crazy infectious. And I really enjoy it, and that's why I really like doing the podcast with you. So, dude, seriously, thank you for being who you are. It's a lot of fun, and thanks for coming on again. I really appreciate it.
Right on, man. Thanks for that. Appreciate the kind words.
All right, man. Thanks again, and we'll have to do another one of these soon. And that is going to do it for this week's episode of the Ear to There podcast. Thank you so much once again to my guest, Johnny Shortsleeve. And thank you so much for hanging with us for 2 straight episodes. When he and I get together on a podcast, there's always a lot to say. So thank you again for listening. It's a lot of fun. And we both really, really appreciate it. As always, if you did enjoy the episode, all I ask is that you tell someone about it. Maybe since this episode is all about getting away, you should tell your biggest Lenny Kravitz fan friend. Do you get it? Does anybody get that? I want to get away. Come on, you know that song. There you go. That might be the first and only time I ever sing anything on this podcast. So write it down. But thank you again so much for listening. Share it with anyone you would like. Really, word of mouth is how this podcast has gotten around and has gotten so many downloads. So thank you so much for all of that. And just remember, there will be a new episode of the Ear to There podcast each and every Monday morning, as well as an episode of the Ear to There podcast Walt Disney World Word of the Week each and every Wednesday morning. So until next time, have a great week. Bye-bye.